Hello, I'm Dr. Sánchez, the one who wrote the book, The Holocaust of All Times. We're in episode number 30 of chapter 12. We're actually in the episode in which the Hispanics, or the Españoles, they are already in Peru, in the city of Cajamarca, and they're already beginning to fill up a room so that he can be rescued, so he cannot be killed. They had an agreement in which he would fill a whole room, about 19 by 17 feet, and fill it up with gold and twice with silver. But because it was in Cajamarca and the gold was all over the Tahuantinsuyo or Peru or all over Cusco, it was taking time. So they sent people to get some gold and silver from Cusco, and they were sent three Spaniards and one slave, a black slave, and it's important to know that because, as you well know, the Spaniards, they abused or violated all the women in Peru, and that's how we came the mestizos. So there is a lot of people who also have let's see, black blood, or that is something that hasn't been told, because there were four people that went to Cusco for the first time, three Spaniards and one black person. So I hope you enjoy this episode and understand what we went through 500 years ago. Thank you.
Although the Inca was in prison, there was no disruption in the empire. His subjects kept working in their fields to keep the masses fed. Meantime, Cuzco was still shaken by the terror inflicted by the high priest of Atahualpa. Out of this anomaly, another type of intrigue ensued between the northerners and the southerners. Both would try to form alliances with the Spaniards. It is possible that HUÁSCAR's followers thought that the invaders were the true Huayracochas. After all, they had just taken prisoner the man who defeated them, just as Atahualpa believed that at one time the strangers were demigods who were coming to celebrate his victory. Hate prevented them from putting their passions aside to fight a common enemy. Knowing that there was more gold to be had after the ransom was completed, the Spaniards were becoming restless for more. While they waited, they feasted on the brains and hearts of llamas, the favorite staple of the Inca nobility, killing 150 a day for the 177 of them. Soon the empire would be without these animals, just as the early immigrants to North America, who almost exterminated the buffalo, using them as shooting targets and not for food. The original inhabitants of all the Americas had a greater sense of ecological preservation, and they would not only lose their riches, but their very means of subsistence. As time passed, the translators were not essential, they had very little to say. The Spaniards wanted more gold, Atahualpa his freedom, and HUÁSCAR his life. Atahualpa: my people are getting worried that you are delaying the contract in order to attack us. Apu Machu: if you don't trust me, you can send envoys to collect more gold from Pacacamac and Cuzco. Are you insinuating that I send my men, knowing that I cannot spare any one of them? If you want gold to be brought faster, send someone to Pacacamac, which is closer. While these events were taking place in the north, in the sacred city, Cusi Yupanc gave orders that Chalco Chima take HUÁSCAR with his family to Cajamarca and let Atahualpa decide his brother's fate. The defeated Inca would not be traveling in a golden litter. Instead, he would be pulled by leather straps that made its way into his flesh. As the gruesome party traveled north, the news of the Spaniards were no longer rumors. HUÁSCAR thought that he would soon be freed by them. Hernando: go to Pacacamac. Find out if what Atahualpa is saying is true. Francisco: you are sending me because Almagro will be arriving and you will give him part of the ransom? I'll be back with the booty, but he will have none of it. Hernando: my partner is coming with more troops so that we can proceed to Cuzco. Can't you understand that? What do you need Almagro for? We are doing well without him. If he comes, we have to share the gold with the rest of his soldiers. He has not done much for the conquest, other than getting us in debt and trying to sabotage the expedition. Someday, I will kill that one-eyed jackass. Atahualpa. I will send my brother. I want all assurances for his safety. If something happens to him, you will die. Apu Machu. All he needs is one of the tassels of my crown as a passport for his safety. The nobles of Pacacamac, who are here, will guide your brother Hernando Pizarro. The Inca admonished the nobles of Pacacamac to take the strangers to their sanctuary, and not to deceive them by hiding the treasures. Their lives were at stake, if they did otherwise. Felipillo, what is Atahualpa telling them? Capito, exactly what you want to hear. He, himself, distrusts the nobles of Pacacamac. Do not fear, they will do as Atahualpa has ordered. With 20 horsemen, 9 infantrymen, and an escort of thousands of porters, Hernando Pizarro left Cajamarca on January 5, 1533. It took them 3 weeks to descend from the Andes to the coast. Marching on the driest deserts, they passed the future city of kings, Lima, arriving 1 week later to the outskirts of Pacacamac. The gold seekers decided to camp the night on the sand dunes close to the sanctuary. The next day, early in the morning, they were welcomed by tremors that shook the earth and infuriated the oceans. Perhaps an omen of the idol of Pacacamac that was going to meet its end against a god from the old world, and become another empty concept in the minds of credulous people. Francisquillo, are these temblors the works of their idol? No, Don Hernando. You are in the land of earthquakes. Only the priests of this sanctuary know how to appease the unknown forces that causes these calamities. Who else, but them? Just like our priests. Let us go to the sanctuary and see who is this idol that shakes the world. Don Hernando, they will not let you enter their sacred place without first fasting, which can take days if not weeks. Francisquillo. I did not travel this far to be turned away at the doors of a false god. I am going to climb to the chambers of that idol, even if the shamans don't want me to. Walking through prohibited passages and climbing unending stairs, the Spaniards made their way to the top of the pyramid-like structure. From high above they could see the sun on its way to the horizon, a breathtaking view that astonished them. As the fresh breeze of the ocean came their way, they also sensed the putrid smell of sacrificial offerings that emanated from the dark chambers of the sanctuary, reminding them of their own demise, for whether human or beast, the stench of death is the same. 2 old priests implored the strangers not to enter the forbidden sanctum. The Spaniards curiously examined the entrance, which was covered by a curtain of precious stones. Eager to see what was inside, they abruptly made their way into the shrine. Mierda! There is nothing here but a wooden effigy of an ugly creature. They call this idol the creator of all? It is not even made of gold. Atahualpa knew it all along, and that is why he sent us here. Destroy this worthless effigy, and place our cross on top of the sanctuary for all to see the God that they now have to worship. Thus, another symbol of Christianity was forced on their lands. The usurpers began collecting the few pieces of gold and silver of the desecrated and now open chamber. Hardly what they had expected. Not to be defrauded, the Spaniards stayed long enough to obtain gold from the surrounding communities. Hernando left Pacacamac on his way to Cajamarca. Midway in his march, he received a message from Francisco that he should go to Jaja, in the Andes, where HUÁSCAR and his captor Chalco Chima were, and bring both of them to him. Francisco had also sent a second party to Cuzco under the command of Pedro de Munger, Martin Bueno, and Juan de Zarate. In their way south, the 3 Spaniards encountered Chalco Chima and his hostage. HUÁSCAR, who no longer looked like a king but more like a beggar, had his first view of the strangers. To him they were the Wiracochas, including their black slave. The deposed emperor talked to them not as he would have done in the past when addressing his subjects, but on his knees. Wiracochas, please save me from the Quitos. You don't have to go to Cuzco. I will give you all the gold that you want. I am the Sapa Inca, take me to see your Apu Machu. Who is this wretched man, who calls himself the Lord of the land? How could he be king, let alone give us gold? Tell this miserable Indian that we have explicit orders to go to the imperial city. Perhaps, on our way back, we can take him to Cajamarca. The envoys continued, leaving Huáscar at the mercy of his captor. Huáscar, my son. Nobody is going to believe that you are the son of the sun. Mother. Atahualpa is also a prisoner, and he is using all my gold to gain his freedom. I know that I could convince the strangers otherwise, if they take me to Cajamarca. Only this time Huáscar met the Spaniards, unaware that his end was near. Meanwhile in Cuzco, Quizquiz, after seeing the tassel of Atahualpa's crown, reluctantly received the 4 men. I say 4, because the man of color should be mentioned as one of the invading forces. Compañeros, look. This city is covered with gold. Nothing compares to what we have so far seen. Maybe that beggar, who called himself the Inca Lord, was right in saying that all the gold is in Cuzco and that he was the owner of all that there is in the empire. Monger, perhaps we should have helped him. That General Chalco Chima was harsh on him and his family. These Indians can be cruel even to their own kings. Martin. Look at the black man awed at all that he sees. He wished he could get some of that gold, but at least he can have their women. Zarate. Pizarro ordered not to take any liberties with the women, so that when he comes they will receive him well. Monger, we don't have to obey everything the captain said. He knew we were expendable, and that is why he sent us here. The Spaniards were treated better than they would have in their own homeland. Ever since, any foreigner who comes to the New World or anyone who can diminish the dignity of the Indians is considered superior to them, a don. With the help of the natives, they started to remove the golden plates, which covered the walls of the temples. They would also remove the jewelry of the mummies against the protests of their caretakers. These were the same clans that Huáscar wanted to do away with to secure his lordship. Now the strangers were doing what he couldn't, when he was the lord of the land.